It's Sonic Sermon number 4. A couple of days late, but hey, that's life. Anything goes at the moment, so I'm over it, as I'm sure you are too. This week, look after your lug holes. The large majority of us have two flappy bits of funny looking flesh stuck to the sides of our heads. Look, these are mine. I like them, despite their tendency to sprout unsightly hairs from strange places. They still haven't let me down after 40 odd years of abuse. When we think of ears, we think of these flappy bits. But there is so much more to our ears than these characterful appendages. We never stop to consider what goes on beyond these things that so subtly define us. These fleshy wings themselves have extraordinary things going on, despite them all being different from one species or one individual to the next. Their function is to focus the pressure waves that define sound into our ear canal. That way we can be pretty sure we know where the next meal is, or the next foe that fancies us as a meal might be coming from. And trust me, around where I live, that's important. I would go so far as to say that the human ear is the most extraordinary demonstration of biomechanical engineering in the animal kingdom. Behind the oft-derided outer ear, or pinna as we should correctly call them, there are miracles to be had. So come with me now as we travel through the waxy labyrinth, past old peas and dead flies, maybe the odd spider's nest, to a tiny place with some mighty stuff going on. And whilst there is endless material available on the anatomy of the ear, I think it's worth talking about because I love it and our business is sound. So, having battled our way past the various obstacles, we arrive at the eardrum. The eardrum is a lightweight diaphragm stretched across the end of the ear canal, forming the border between the outer and middle ear. Think of it as the diaphragm on a microphone. It responds to variations in air pressure, which are the result of minute air molecules being jostled back and forth at the source of a noise. But just how sensitive can an ear be? Now, molecules are tiny, but what are they made of? Atoms. Even tinier bits of matter that define the elements from which you, me, the table, the plate of chips on the table, the building in which we reside, the earth, the universe in which we live are made. Now, according to hyperphysics, the go-to site for all believable and unbelievable but true physics facts, an average atom works out at around 0.3 nanometers across. 3 times 10 to the minus 8 centimeters. Now this one's a tricky one. It's 30 billionth, I think, 30 billionth of a meter. That's very tiny. Now, if absolute silence means no movement of air, 1/10 of the diameter of a constituent atom before it was detected as sound by the mechanisms within the ear. So next time you're near an ear, there's an ear in ear. So next time you're near an ear, take a moment to gaze in wonder at the fact that they can detect the sound of something vibrating over a distance of 1/10 the diameter of an atom. The loudest sounds the ear can deal with amount to pressure variations that are, 10 million, that's 10 trillion times greater. There is nothing else in the human body that comes close to this incredible range of sensitivity. I don't care what you say, it's just astonishing. Add to this the ridiculous range of wavelengths that the ear has to decode, and we are looking at something that is surely worth treating with great respect. A very low 20 Hz note from a synth or an organ has a wavelength of around 17 meters. That's a medium-large sauropod dinosaur, a very sizable yacht. At the other end of the scale, we are looking at wavelengths of less than 2 centimeters for the very highest frequencies, a scale factor of 10,000 times smaller. And we have only just arrived at the eardrum. Behind it, in the middle ear, is a mechanism made of bone, or 3 bones to be precise, that work as a mechanical amplifier. These bones, the smallest in the body, are the malleus, incus and stapes, or hammer, anvil and stirrup, in case you didn't do classics at school. That's school with a K. It's believed that these evolved from the bones in the jaws of early fish a few 100 million years ago in the Devonian period. There's still some floating around here now. The shape and linkage between these tiny ossicles, which is a great word, work together to convert the movement of the eardrum caused by pressure changes in the air into movement in fluid in the inner ear. We all know that fluid is denser than air, and the ossicles are amplifying the minute vibrations of the eardrum sufficiently to create an analogue of the air pressure changes in the perilymph, which is a plasma-like fluid that fills the frankly astonishing cochlea. Yes, and that's the thing that looks like a snail. You've probably all seen it. Now, imagine your hand pushing repeatedly on a circular board floating on the surface of a cylinder full of water. It's a tight fit so the water doesn't gush out everywhere. The ossicles are your arm and hand, and the board is doing the job of the oval window, a membrane that divides the middle and inner ear. The water in the cylinder is playing the part of the perilymph, transmitting the pressure changes through the fluid contained in the cochlea. At the other end of the cylinder is an elastic membrane, the round window, that absorbs the pressure by flexing with the variations, a bit like a tiny trampoline. It stops all the perilymph spewing out and also acts like a shock absorber. So we have a length of tube with pressure variations running through it. And how do we understand this as sound? Well, to put it simply, but maintain the wonder, it goes like this. The waves of pressure cause a thing called the basilar membrane to vibrate in sympathy. This runs right through the cochlea. The vibes in the basilar in turn cause the tiny hair cells attached to it to dance. And this movement sends nerve signals to the brain. The truly awesome thing here is that there are hair cells all along the basilar membrane, and despite the fact that this whole structure is particularly diminutive, the position of the hairs on the length of the membrane determine what frequency they respond to. It's gobsmacking to imagine that we have what is essentially a pair of biomechanical audio spectrum analyzers stuck inside our heads. Now, before you all write and complain like people do, I've simplified this entire process massively, and like I said, there is plenty of information out there to demonstrate the anatomy and physiology of hearing. So what's this sermon really all about? Well, I believe that as musicians and sound engineers, we are blessed with the ability to hear sound in ways that others don't necessarily do. The next time you're playing or mixing a show or a multi-track on your DAW, consider what's actually going on inside your head. The process of hearing, when refined enough to enable us to understand and deconstruct a piece of music, goes way beyond the miracles described once you start to get into the mental process. The mental energy I expend when mixing a complex show, allowing the music to enter my consciousness and be instantly analysed and turned into motor actions to make changes, tweaky, can leave me feeling elated but also totally knackered. I often feel as if I've had my brain scrambled once the music stops, particularly when working in a less than ideal sonic environment. So the lesson here really is this. You only have one set of ears. Look after them, because if you learn to use them as I have, they will reward you in ways you never imagined possible. You have been gifted with some truly remarkable listening devices, no matter how daft they might look. Here endeth the sermon.